There's a particular kind of person who moves through the world feeling slightly out of place, not because something is broken in them, but because something in them runs deeper than the environment around them was built to hold. And the cruelest part of that experience is this: the very traits responsible for it are the same ones that make them genuinely exceptional. They just never learned to read them that way. What we're going to explore today isn't about IQ tests or academic records. It's about 5 psychological patterns, subtle, often misread, sometimes painful, that researchers have identified as markers of a genuinely gifted mind. Patterns that don't announce themselves. Patterns that, more often than not, feel like problems. The first is this: your nervous system doesn't just register the world, it absorbs it. Polish psychologist Kazimierz Dabrowski spent decades studying gifted individuals and found that they consistently experience emotional and intellectual input at a fundamentally different magnitude than others. A piece of music doesn't simply pass through you, it reorganizes something inside you. An idea doesn't just catch your attention, it occupies you for days, turning itself over, refusing to settle. A conversation from 3 weeks ago still surfaces at 2 in the morning because your mind hasn't finished with it yet. Most people read this kind of intensity as instability, and most gifted people, after enough years of that reaction, begin to read it the same way. They start treating their own depth as a defect. But what Dabrowski understood is that this intensity is not a symptom. It is a signal. The unmistakable signature of a mind that is structurally more alive to experience than the average. The weight of it is real, and so is what it points to. The second pattern lives in the gap between what you produce and what you know it could have been. This is not about wanting things to be neat. This is about possessing an internal standard so precise, so invisible to everyone around you, that even your best work lands in you as evidence of everything you haven't yet managed to achieve. When others are impressed, you are already cataloging the failures they didn't notice. Giftedness research consistently connects this to high metacognitive ability, an unusually developed capacity to observe and evaluate your own thinking in real time. Your brain doesn't just produce ideas, it watches itself produce them, measures them against a standard that keeps rising, and returns a verdict that is almost never fully satisfied. That capacity is rare. It is also exhausting. And it has probably led you to wonder whether the relentless dissatisfaction means something is wrong with you. It doesn't. It means your mind holds itself to a standard most people never reach for. Third, and this one tends to surface quietly, you have never quite felt synchronized with the people around you. Not superior to them, just slightly out of phase. Like you're operating on a frequency that's close enough to communicate, but different enough that real resonance is rare, and when it does happen, almost startling. The fourth sign lives in the brain's architecture itself. Neuroscience research has found that gifted individuals show unusually high connectivity between regions of the brain that don't typically communicate. What that means in lived experience is this: your mind doesn't move through problems in straight lines, it moves in leaps. In sudden recognitions that two things separated by enormous apparent distance are actually the same thing wearing different clothes. You make connections others don't see, and sometimes you can't explain how you arrived at them, because the path was faster than language. This is what researchers call divergent thinking, one of the most reliable cognitive markers of genuine intellectual giftedness. It is also what frequently makes gifted people feel strange rather than sharp, because the leap feels obvious once you've made it, and the confusion on other people's faces creates a particular kind of self-doubt. You begin to wonder whether you're seeing something real or just making things up. In almost every case, you are seeing something real. You're just seeing it before the path to it has been built. The fifth sign runs underneath all the others like a current. You have almost certainly never fully believed the good things people say about you. Not because you're performing humility, but because your awareness of everything you don't yet know is so vast, and your internal standard so unrelenting, that a sense of genuine arrival has never quite come. The more your mind reaches, the more it reveals of what lies beyond reach. The gap between what you are and what you sense you could be never fully closes, not because you're falling short, but because the horizon keeps moving. None of these 5 signs look like gifts from the inside. The intensity feels like too much. The perfectionism feels like failure. The feeling of being out of sync feels like loneliness. The pattern recognition feels like strangeness. And the imposter experience feels like exposure. That is precisely why most gifted people carry these qualities for decades without ever understanding what they're carrying. If what you've heard resonates, not as a flattering idea, but as a recognition of something you've quietly lived, then perhaps only one thing is worth taking from this. The qualities that have felt like your edges, like the places where you're too much or not enough, are not problems waiting to be corrected. They are the shape of a particular kind of mind. And the moment you stop trying to fix that shape and start learning to understand it, something shifts. Not everything, but enough.